everyone, it's time for Good Week Israel, where we'll give you ILTV's latest positive highlights. Get ready to smile because coming up, an incredible rare artifact is uncovered in Jerusalem. An Israeli company is revolutionizing the world of fabrics with its incredible virus-killing properties, and the discovery of a 70-year-old mural in Jerusalem leads to a nationwide manhunt. An exceptionally rare bronze coin from the Bar Kokhba Revolt has been uncovered in Jerusalem just before the Jewish holiday of Lag BaOmer. Check this out.
Nearly 2,000 years ago, around 132 CE, the Jews of ancient Israel rose up against the Romans in the Bar Kokhba Revolt. And though the rebellion ultimately ended in failure, their dreams of liberating Jerusalem have lived on. And now the Israel Antiquities Authority has uncovered a rare coin from the time of the revolt, right in the city of David.
This find is a bronze coin. What makes this coin rare is the fact that out of 22,000 coins that were found within the old city of Jerusalem, only 4 are dated to the time of Bar Kokhba Revolt. Another fact that makes this coin rare is that under this palm tree, which is seen here, we can see the name Jerusalem inscribed on the coin, so in ancient Hebrew. And it's the only coin out of these 4 coins which remarks the name Jerusalem on it. And on the other side, we can see grapevine, and around it is written the second year to the freedom of Israel.
Again though, while the rebels caused a major headache for the Roman occupying forces, Roman reinforcements had been set in to squash the revolt, and it's these same soldiers who are thought to have taken and spread these coins.
The soldiers of these units went back to their bases after the suppression of the revolt and brought back with them these coins. It is likely that this coin was brought by a Roman soldier from the 10th Legion as a souvenir from the revolt.
The coin was discovered by the Israel Antiquities Authority in the William Davidson Archaeological Park, just beneath the Temple Mount and north of the City of David Hill.
The City of David has been uncovering ancient treasures that date back centuries. ILTV Natalie Twersky visits Israel's biblical sites that date back to the First Temple period.
For thousands of years, Jerusalem has been fascinating people from all over the world. Many of its historic sites are still standing today. And here, the City of David carefully maintains and preserves it all for future generations to enjoy. The City of David has been uncovering ancient treasures and historic structures that date back centuries. A visit here takes you on a journey as far back as the First Temple period and highlights the many ways the Jewish people are tied to the land here in Jerusalem.
If you see here, there's actually an entire cemetery. This is probably the largest and most ancient active cemetery in the entire world. There are graves here that are 3,000 years old, 2,000 years old, and even people are buried here in the modern day.
This cemetery, which holds approximately 150,000 graves, overlooks one of the City of David's most significant sites, the biblical Kidron Valley. The valley is 20 miles in length and runs between the historic Mount of Olives and the Temple Mount.
This is a place that olive trees covered the city. That oil was essential to life. It was used not only for cooking, like it still is in the Middle East, but lanterns and flashlights had olive oil with a little wick.
And for rituals as well.
Exactly, for rituals.
The first ever reference to the Mount of Olives was when King David, who was the ruler of Israel at the time, fled from his son Absalom, who rose against him. He walked up the Mount of Olives on his way out of the country. But does David ever make it back to Jerusalem?
He does, in fact. David, in fact, returns to Jerusalem and his kingship continues. And this site was thought even 2,000 years ago to be the site where Absalom was actually buried.
Right across the Mount of Olives is Absalom's Pillar, a remarkable archaeological site carved out of the mountain. Now, you said this is one of the more lesser known sites here in the City of David, right?
That's correct.
That's
and
crazy.
it's like a jewel that was just recently uncovered that people haven't had access to, but now we've put in these walkways, it's lit up at night.
The City of David offers a full experience when visiting these sites, including Bedouin tents where you can enjoy coffee and a meal in a style which has hardly changed in thousands of years, plus a magnificent photo op atop a camel. For the visitors who want to get more hands-on in the excavation process, visitors can get their hands dirty and uncover ancient artifacts in a sifting project at Emek Tzurim, just a short drive away.
The material I've been working on this morning is actually from right underneath Robinson's Arch. This is a picture of the Temple Mount from the Second Temple period time. And down here along what is this street, the archaeologists have been digging recently, and they removed tons of material.
The sifting project helps archaeologists who are digging all throughout Jerusalem to sort through the material.
So the material gets brought here to Emek Tzurim from many different parts of Jerusalem, right?
Yes. Emek Tzurim is up here on the Mount of Olives. We're very close to the Old City. Some of the areas that are bringing us the material right now, there is a huge excavation that is going on the ancient stepped street. This was an ancient street that went from the Temple Mount all the way down to the Siloam Pool. That area is being excavated right now, right down to the street level.
Each day, about a truckload of material is brought to Emek Tzurim and yields coins, glass, vessels, and even mosaics.
How exactly are we going to be sifting through piles and piles of debris?
Well, we have figured out a very efficient way of doing this.
Okay.
And I'll give you a demonstration here. The material that is out here on the floor waiting for us, any bucket will do, is from the step street. And I'm going to step to the back side. We've added water to the bucket, so it will start to clean. We're going to take a bucket, dump it on the tray. Then we take the material that is on the tray, spread it out, and give it a good shower. One of the main things that we find in the material is pottery. But pottery is very useful because based on the way that it is shaped, the kind of decorations that it has on it, we can actually date the time period that this material came from. Here are some pieces of bone. And what was that little shiny thing you found?
This is something.
This is a beautiful piece of ancient glass, 2,000 years old. It is the top edge of a cup.
How do you know that?
I can see a nice smooth top edge around this way.
Wow.
And so it's probably from a cup or a bowl.
This one looks like it has some type of shape to it.
Yes.
Right?
This is the handle to a side of a pot.
And how far does that date back?
This is going to be from the Second Temple period. This material is from the year 70 and from a few years just before that. This is a piece of a cooking pot. I see this is the inside here. This is the outside of the cooking pot. And you see it still has soot on it, left over from 2,000 years ago.
How do you imagine an Israeli kibbutz founded by American Jews would be? Well, ILTV's Natalie Tversky visits the kibbutz Gezer to hear all about their story.
In central Israel, in between the country's two main cities, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, you'll find Kibbutz Gezer. And although a kibbutz is something that's totally unique to Israeli society, this particular kibbutz was founded by a group of Jews who came all the way from the United States to settle in Israel. Today we're going to meet a man who left his hometown of New York City behind to help establish this community here in Kibbutz Gezer. This is David Leishman, one of the first members to arrive in the kibbutz in 1976, just 2 years after its establishment.
We were offered this piece of land, which was completely empty. It was totally abandoned. There was nobody here. We had very little. We had some cows and we had agriculture. And those were our businesses when we first came, with madrichim, with people who came from other kibbutzim to help us, to teach us how to deal with those things.
A passion for Zionism, coupled with the popularity of communal societies in the 1960s, inspired David to leave his American lifestyle behind and start fresh at the kibbutz.
You come from New York. Now,
I do come
coming
from
from
New
a
York.
big city is completely different lifestyle than what we're seeing now, kibbutz lifestyle, communal. How was that adjustment?
Well, it's about birds and flowers and trees and not necessarily just looking for the rat race, but to be in nature, to be in Eretz Yisrael, in the land of Israel, connected to the land of Israel. We are a Jewish country, and that was very important to me.
And since the members were American, they brought along some of their culture with them, including the official American pastime, baseball. The very first baseball field ever created in Israel is right here on the kibbutz and hosts both national teams as well as international visitors.
Now everyone agreed to have this communal lifestyle. The houses, they all looked exactly the same. There was a dining room where everyone ate and cooked and did everything together, right?
Correct.
It was just like every other kibbutz in the country at that time.
Correct.
Kibbutzim in the 21st century aren't what they used to be. And in the year 2000, Kibbutz Kaiser underwent major changes in order to fit the needs of its members and to reflect today's Israeli society.
We started working off the kibbutz to earn more money, and then you didn't know who would come into the dining room for dinner. They might have eaten out, and we needed to then finally close the dining room because we were throwing food away.
Today, most of the kibbutz members work outside of the kibbutz or have their own businesses, including David, who many consider to be the king of ice cream. A man on a mission to create the ice cream revolution here in Israel.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm getting really hot out here, baked in the sun, and an ice cold ice cream sounds just about lovely right now.
That's why it's there.
David loves to experiment with all kinds of flavors, some of which he grows in his own backyard.
We use the lemons from the tree. We use pomegranates. These are grapes that we use for making jam for a peanut butter and jelly ice cream or a grape sorbet. This is nana. You can smell it. And this is all over Israel, but I don't like the flavor for the ice cream, so I have to grow. This is more like a spearmint, and this is more like a peppermint. This is different. Smell that.
Yeah, this is
deeper,
way more, this is more
right.
strong.
That's right.
All right, well, I'm starting to crave these
Let's
flavors.
go do it.
Peanut butter and jelly ice cream sounds amazing.
Great,
Let's
but
go
you're going to have
inside.
to work to get to that, because we're going to start with different flavors.
I love the animation of you. It looks just like you.
Well, I try to look like
The
it.
same mustache.
David brings his guests into the world of ice cream, making not only the classic flavors like vanilla and chocolate, but also his own original flavors crafted with nothing but all natural quality ingredients.
I use Uzbeki raisins. Here, try one of these. They're really good. They're organic raisins and from Uzbekistan. And I put those in the rum overnight, and they sort of get bigger. And also
Absorb
rum,
all of alcohol, right?
Right, and then I put rum into the mix of the ice cream.
Oh wow, I do taste the rum.
The rum that's in the ice cream is cooked off, but the raisins,
Yeah, the raisins is
if you
what
eat
has
enough
that
of
strong
these
flavor.
raisins, they'll give you a buzz.
David has been a fan of the sweet frozen dessert for as long as he can remember. In fact, his grandfather owned an ice cream shop in Manhattan, and his bar mitzvah party even featured an ice cream stand.
Okay, this next flavor is a peanut butter and jelly. It's made with what I like to call in Hebrew tchinat botnim.
That is delicious.
To David, ice cream is more than just a tasty dessert, but an entire sensory experience.
An incredible mural has just been discovered in Jerusalem, bringing new life and shedding new light on the 1948 War of Independence.
An amazing 70-year-old artwork has now been unearthed, and the mural had only been revealed when a wall collapsed during construction work near a commercial center in Jerusalem. Now, this mural is made to look like the front page of a newspaper that was published in Israel from 1943 until 1995. And in the captions, there are images of IDF forces climbing a fortress and a sinking Arab weapons ship off the Italian coast. But where did it come from? Well, it seems to have been painted by a soldier who took part in the 1948 War of Independence, specifically the battles for Al-Kastal and in the village of Kalunya, just west of Jerusalem. And the whole mural will be safely removed to storage until a heritage center is finished, at which point the mural will be returned for permanent display. As for the artist's personal identity, a nationwide manhunt for the soldier has started, with the Council of Conservation of Heritage Sites calling on any Israelis with information to come forward.
Now let's turn the clock back about 11,500 years to the Neolithic period, because Israeli researchers in excavations in Turkey have discovered new secrets about one of the world's oldest temples.
What is mankind's first great achievement? Well, besides discovering fire and the wheel, one might argue that the answer is agriculture. But it turns out that highly sophisticated architecture takes the cake, and archaeologists from Tel Aviv University are now detailing why. Professor Avi Gofer and PhD candidate Gil Haklai have been studying the massive temple of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, and they say that this monumental temple is not only among the world's oldest, but it also shows an extraordinary understanding of city planning and building development, which at the same time predates agriculture and even pottery. In fact, it predates the Egyptian pyramids by roughly 6,500 years. And researchers at the site detail beautiful relief sculptures and carvings featured on dozens of massive limestone pillars arranged in at least 20 concentric rings. Also, construction on the structure, which employs unique design rules, is estimated to have taken centuries, if not more, to complete. But finally, the Israelis' unique findings have since been published by the Cambridge Archaeological Journal.
In other news, amidst a global pandemic, the question on everyone's lips is, am I protected? Well, Israeli company SuNovia wants to make sure that you are by using the latest and greatest innovations available. ILTV's Natasha Kirchuk reports.
Masks. Nowadays, everybody's using them as protection from the novel COVID-19 virus. In fact, here in Israel, you can even get fined if you're not wearing one in public. But how effective is the mask you're using? That's a question that can be hard to answer. Unless you're wearing a mask developed by the Israeli company SuNovia. They've developed a unique formula that can be used to treat fabric so that it literally fights off germs. Meaning wearing a mask that's made out of SuNovia's antiviral material can protect you from the coronavirus, along with other deadly bacteria and fungi.
Instead of just shielding you from the virus, this mask is going to kill the virus on contact. So if someone is exposed to the virus, the mask material will actually kill it. Or if they are infected with the virus, they won't be able to spread it to other people through breathing because the viral particles will be destroyed.
You can use SuNovia's zinc-coated cotton polyester masks over and over again, and tests show they're even effective after being washed 100 times. But what's most interesting is that SuNovia's germ-resistant formula can be used to treat all types of textiles.
All the textiles that has been used in the surroundings, starting from car seats in public transportation, everything that is made of textile can be treated and can prevent hospital-acquired infections and its effect on the users, on the humans around it.
The need for SuNovia's antiviral fabric solution goes beyond just coronavirus. Every year, 150,000 deaths are attributed to hospital-acquired infections, and 30% of patients in intensive care are affected by healthcare-associated infections as well. So, if medical professionals were to be equipped with SuNovia-protected gear, many lives could be saved. Right now, SuNovia has distributed tens of thousands of its masks to hospitals across Israel to help the doctors and nurses who are on the front line of the coronavirus outbreak. But billions of dangerous germs stick to our clothes when we're out in public, not just in medical centers, which is why SuNovia's masks are now available to the public and can be purchased on their website.
Speaking of staying clean, the search for easy ways to clean surfaces and kill bacteria and viruses has seriously picked up speed in recent months. But a Jerusalem-based startup says it may have this problem solved.
Israeli company Biofence has developed an antimicrobial surface coating that kills bacteria and effectively destroys viruses, and it's already proven itself in labs and food sites all across the world. In fact, the Biofence coating even kills the herpes simplex virus, which the company explains is considered to be much tougher than COVID-19. All you have to do is apply the coating and then activate the surface by washing it quickly with a chlorine solution. The treated surface then actively kills pathogens for days or even weeks before needing to be activated again. And best of all, of course, is how versatile this surface treatment really is. Biofence can be applied to walls and floors in hospitals, hotels, offices, transit stations, airports, and more. And it can even be sprayed or painted on without damaging the clear coating.
This next story is unbelievable, but a medical miracle has just been performed in Jerusalem. Surgeons have managed to save a man from a rod impaling his head.
A month ago, Kamel Abdelrahman took a typical trip to see the status of an apartment that he's building for his family. But things took a terrible turn when he fell from the second floor onto an iron rod that went straight through his head. Rahman says that he couldn't move, but he didn't feel pain, so he started shouting for help. Then in moments, his family found him and called emergency services. With some crazy luck, the rod had entered directly between two major arteries supplying blood to his brain, but they didn't appear to be damaged. So after hours of analyzing, doctors managed to very carefully remove the rod, and then in a second 10-hour surgery, they repaired the damages to his head. But when Rahman woke up, everything seemed to be working well. In fact, he's already been sent home.
Now, for many, business is struggling to survive amidst the restrictions and lockdowns around the world. But for Israeli company Moveit, payday has arrived in the form of a nearly $1 billion buyout.
Most people who take public transportation are familiar with transit app Moveit. The Mobility as a Service, or MaaS Solutions company, helps 800 million users get around over 100 countries and in 45 languages, with its up-to-date navigation functions that tap into all the public transportation systems. And now, U.S. multinational company Intel has confirmed that it's acquiring Moveit at a cost of just $900 million. But this also comes after Intel invested $50 million in Moveit in 2018 and bought out driver assistance development company Mobileye in 2017, a deal that cost Intel $15.3 billion, the biggest acquisition in Israeli high-tech history. So what does that mean for the future of transportation? Well, in a statement released Monday, Intel explains that together, Moveit and Mobileye will help achieve the plan to become a complete mobility provider, quote, including robo-taxi services estimated to be worth $160 billion by 2030.
Now, Israeli train lines are set to reopen, finally connecting Israel's two biggest cities, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem.
The moment we've all been waiting for is here. The direct railway between Jerusalem's Yitzhak Navon station and Tel Aviv's Savidor Central is opening, and it's set to carry its first passengers May 24th. Now, as you probably know, work has broken down for most industries over COVID-19. But with the roads and railways practically cleared for months now, infrastructure on this newest train line has accelerated. And Transportation Minister Bezalel Smotrich says the line will be further extended to Herzliya by the end of the summer. It'll also boast some 24 new eco-friendly carriages by the end of next year, meaning greater passenger capacity and fewer technical issues. This line was originally approved of in 2001, though, by then Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, and it's 12 years past due and at more than double the original cost. Still, by the end of the month, the new line will rocket 2 trains per hour in each direction between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, with stops at Ben Gurion Airport, South Tel Aviv's HaHagana Station, and Central Tel Aviv's HaShalom. And it'll run from 6:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. every weekday and on Saturday evenings.
That's it for today's Good Week Israel. We hope we've helped you start your week with a smile. I'm Nittany Manson. See you next week.